This is the Pixelbook Go, and there are 3 things you need to know about it right off the bat. First, it's the third in a line of Pixelbooks, starting with the original and then last year's Pixel Slate. Second, it's the least risky of these 3, and it's probably the least exciting too. But then lastly, this might be my favorite Chromebook I've ever used. So when I first saw the Pixelbook Go, I have to admit I wasn't particularly excited. I'm someone who really liked the original Pixelbook when it came out in 2017. Always felt like that design was really fresh, and I've always wanted to see a true sequel to that. The Pixelbook Go is not that. Rather than a smaller 12-inch 2-in-1, the Pixelbook Go is a bit more conventional. It has a 13.3-inch screen, and it's a clamshell device. So even though it does have a touchscreen, that means you can't flip the hinge all the way around, and you can't use the Pixelbook pen with it. And while the overall look and design of the Pixelbook Go is a lot less adventurous than the original Pixelbook, I mean, when you take a look at this, you can tell that it's every bit as refined. It's made entirely of just a few chunks of magnesium, and despite how crazy thin and light it is, I mean, it's just 2 pounds, there's really no sign of creaking, flexing, or bending. This thing is really, really sturdy and rigid, and that's more than you can say for most laptops that you can get for $649. It has an inviting rounded shape, and that's something a lot of Chromebooks enjoy, but the standout sort of design feature is along the bottom where it has this ribbed pattern. And I like this a lot more than I thought I would once I had it in person. It makes the rubber feet along the bottom stand out a little bit less, and honestly, it's just something different. This, of course, is the just black model, and it's a little plain looking, especially from the outside. But there is the option for the not pink, which is a little more fun, but that's only offered in the higher end configurations. One of the downfalls of cheap Chromebooks and of cheap laptops in general is the screen. Fortunately, the Pixelbook Go has a really nice 1080p glossy screen, and it's a little bit warmer of a tint than something like a MacBook Pro or a Surface Pro, but it's great for everyday use and for video watching and anything else you might want to do on a Chromebook. It is a step down in resolution from the original Pixelbook, and it goes from 3:2 to a 16:9 aspect ratio. Personally, I do tend to prefer a 3:2 or even a 16:10 screen, but they wanted to go with something familiar here, I think, and 16:9 is definitely the most common for laptops, so I'm not surprised to see Google switch over to that. There is a 4K option that's going to be available at some point, though we don't know exactly when that release date is. Now, really my only beef with the design of the Pixelbook Go are these bezels surrounding those screens. These babies are thick, especially on the top where you have the webcam and the Google Assistant mics. You know, I would have really preferred to see some thinner bezels on this. It's gonna get a pass from me just because it is a little bit on the cheaper end of things, but I gotta say, when I look at it, that's the one thing that stands out as something I would love to be changed next time around. There are, after all, options already out there like the Lenovo Yoga Chromebook or the Samsung Chromebook 4 Plus that have those thin bezels, so yeah, this does feel a little outdated. Down on the keyboard though, it's all good stuff. The keyboard here is the same technology they use on the Pixel Slate. They call them hush keys, and actually they really are quiet. And despite having a shorter travel than your average laptop keyboard, the mechanism here really is unique. It's soft, but it's not mushy in any way. There is a nice bounce back on each key press, and it feels like there's some kind of a membrane on each key. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I do like the end result. It's quiet and it's really comfortable to type on. And most importantly, they got rid of the circular design on the Pixel Slate keyboard, which a lot of people did not like. The glass touchpad below is large and it's really responsive. That's a big win as always for cheap laptops. But we've gotta talk about these speakers because it's been a long time since the speakers on a laptop are a feature that I'm actually excited to talk about. They're loud, they stay clear even when they're at their max volume, and there's even bass. There's bass in speakers on a laptop. It's amazing, and I set them side by side with the industry leader, the MacBook Pro, and I gotta say, I think the Pixelbook Go has a better set of stereo speakers than the MacBook Pro, and that's saying a lot given that this thing starts at $649. You get those same speakers. Now, for that price, you might be wondering about performance. That's a totally fair question to be curious about. The base configuration here starts with a Core M3 processor. That's an 8th gen dual core CPU, and that also comes with 8 GB of RAM and a 64 GB SSD. Now, that configuration might not get you super excited, but honestly, this is a Chromebook. You have to keep that in mind. So you're getting a lot better performance in your actual experience of it than you would on these same parts on a Windows 10 PC. I'd say unless you're planning on always being plugged into a 4K monitor with 50 tabs open, for the most part, I think that base configuration is gonna be exactly what you're looking for. Now my unit here is the Core i5, again, that's 8th generation Intel, and honestly, everything I threw at this thing just flew. I couldn't find the end to it in terms of multitasking. It kind of begs the question, do you need that Core i7 model? I would say for the price, I don't think you need to go above this Core i5, and it's one of the fastest Chromebooks I've ever tested, and I don't think you're gonna be needing more power than this. So what's missing here? I think the first thing to mention is there's no biometric login whatsoever. There's no fingerprint scanner, there's no facial recognition, nothing. And that's kind of disappointing given that Google just launched the Face Unlock feature for the Pixel 4, but not coming to the Pixelbook Go. A couple other small things. Because these are 8th gen processors, you're not getting the Wi-Fi 6 chipset from Intel. That could be useful in the future. But more importantly, you're not getting an option for LTE connectivity. For a device that's called the Pixelbook Go, this feels like it would have been a shoo-in to offer that in some capacity, but you're not getting that here. And it really makes me question whether or not Google should consider, going with a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. It really makes me wonder what that would look like, because that would give you that LTE connectivity right out of the box. But in terms of port connectivity, you do have kind of everything you need on a Chromebook like this. You have a USB-C port on either side. It can be used for power, for data transfer, for video out, everything you need. And of course, a headphone jack, which was something the Pixel Slate didn't have. So glad to see that they've put that back into this Chromebook. Oh, and one more thing, I almost forgot. One of the most impressive things about the Pixelbook Go is the battery life. Google claims that you can get up to 12 hours, and I actually got 12 hours of battery life with the Pixelbook Go. In our kind of web browsing test, I even got 13 hours. So, it'll always depend on what you do with it, but really I think you can expect not only a full day, but even a few hours more than that. And even for a Chromebook, which typically do get good battery life, I think this is a really, really big selling point. Now, $649 might not sound like a lot of money for a laptop, especially if you're used to shopping in the Windows world or the Mac world. But if you know anything about Chromebooks, they typically sell for like $200 or $300. Those are the most common Chromebooks you can buy. So the Pixelbook Go definitely sits on the higher end of the spectrum, and there are some competitors out there from Dell, from Samsung, from Acer, so there are options. But I really think that the Pixelbook Go offers the best overall package, the display, the performance, the speakers. Gotta talk about those speakers again. So if you're a student, if you're someone who needs a laptop to travel with, or just someone who needs to bring their work with them on the go, and of course, if you're okay with Chrome OS, I really think the Pixelbook Go is the best Chromebook you can buy. Hey, thanks for checking out this review. Let me know in the comments if $649 is still too much for you to spend on a Chromebook. I'm really curious what you guys think. So leave us a comment, let us know, and make sure to subscribe for more videos from Digital Trends.